So, spawning up in the top right-hand position of Frost. Interestingly, the same map we saw Scarlet and Dana start out on in their best of 3 that just went on. We have the red Zerg player representing Team Acer. It's ParanOid. And his opponent spawning in the top left, the blue Terran player from mYi, the former GSL champion. It's JJakji. So, a nice little bit of TVP coming up here for us. Nice thing to be going on a Monday evening. Of course, those of you watching on VODs, I don't know what evening it is. I kind of hope it's a Monday evening right now, so before I said anything, you were just like, oh my god, how did he do that? Of course you wouldn't, because we live in the year 2014, and most people are aware how pre-recorded content works. But maybe you were a time traveler, and if you were a time traveler, then welcome to the future. Lots of scary things are going on. I suggest you go back. Anyway, this game, for the moment we do see the ParanOid going to scout the wrong way first. 50-50 chance, let's face it. And it's just going to be go and find out where JJakji is and what kind of opening JJakji is going for. Well, JJakji, he's busy getting down his refinery. Started off that barracks before the refinery. As we can see, that refinery there, 23 seconds through, barracks is already 35. So this is likely to be a Reaper opening. Should the refinery have started before the barracks, then it would be more probable that we would have got an early factory. That's really the big difference you can tell there on the gas. May not necessarily be a Reaper, but I really do suspect that that's what we'll be seeing. JJakji does it quite a lot. 2 Reapers into 4 Hellions is a great opening against Zerg. It allows you to put on a lot of pressure and also tech pretty heavily too. So, there we go. As expected, JJakji getting out that Reaper. Now, but while we're in the downtime between these lobbies while vetoes were occurring, I did a little bit of research, as I normally do between each series, and, well, I plugged these two into Eligulak to see who would come out on top, what it predicted in a best of 3, and, well, I think it's safe to say that ParanOid may very well be about to take out, or attempt, one of the hardest upsets, according to Eligulak, that I've ever seen. Eligulak reckons that JJakji has a 94% chance of winning this series, a 72% chance of winning 2-0. Now that's not discredit currently. In pro games, ParanOid has a 50% win rate up against Terran in games he's played. Unfortunately, JJakji currently has a 74% win rate up against Zerg. Maybe the difference there. But anyway, the Reaper is now in, starting to pick away at some drones. Now, this Reaper will force a couple of lings out from ParanOid. Gonna keep kiting away. It's very unlikely with a Reaper that you'll manage to kill any drones, but forcing the lings instantly reduces the drone count of your opponent. But also, the Reaper heals up, so anything you kill with a Reaper is very good as long as it stays down. And we are going to actually see a drone kill go down there. Very nice, and JJakji just escaping with his Reaper. The second one now comes across, and back at home, the factory is already on its way, plus that second command center. Note a little bit of damage being done here by JJakji. He's playing it very close to the line, getting insanely low on health with those Reapers. Luckily, they heal up fast. ParanOid, though, spreading out these Overlords just to try and keep a good eye on where these Reapers are, what they're doing. Also, we should see ParanOid start pushing creep forward once his second and third Queen are finished. Now, JJakji is going to be playing this insanely greedy. Busy getting down his 3rd CC, starting up the Hellion production, and this is one of the ways you can transition off this opening, is by getting a lot of economy down. The other way is to get a lot of tech, get a starport and go into Banshee. It works nicely, but the entire premise is that by applying pressure, your opponent has to be defensive, so you can take risks in your economy or whatever, and you don't need a standing army out to be defensive. JJakji, though, does need to be cautious that he doesn't get these Reapers surrounded. If one of those goes down, it would be quite traumatic, and it would massively hinder the build that JJakji is going for, because while there's 2 Reapers, and that might not seem, losing one might not seem like the end of the world, but 4 Hellions and 1 Reaper isn't actually that scary. The Reapers are really essential for helping pick off the Queens quite efficiently. So, in we go now. Still these Reapers poking and prodding. The Queen count looking quite nice. 4 Queens, I believe, are down on the field now, so that means that ParanOid has got some transfuses available. Not quite yet, but they should be about to come up. His creep spread, it's pushing forward. And he's starting with a little bit of a wall off. That's going to help him with the Queens in a hold position from stopping too much. But 1 Reaper makes its way up into the main base. The second one's still waiting with those Hellions. just getting some scouting down. The Queen's going to try and sneak their way back. JJakji has to be very cautious here because, as we know, these Reapers aren't indestructible. The Queen gets a couple of shots off, will take down the first Reaper, but JJakji now moving forward. Unfortunately, the Queen's there. ParanOid doing a fantastic job of blocking it out. He's also got his Rotor nearly finished, as we know at the front, but JJakji's third is already now completed. That's going to be some more mules, more SCVs, and JJakji's economy going through the roof. ParanOid unable to start his third until right now, but with the Hellions already there, they can start chipping away. Until some Roaches start hitting the field, these Hellions have free reign for the most part. The Queens can start trying to work away at them, but off creep those Queens are so slow, the Hellions are just going to start getting some damage done. They can micro away so easily. And what they're trying to achieve is actually a decent amount of damage on this hatchery. They very well can cancel it if they can consistently keep getting every shot up. They may get a Queen kill too, but with some good transfuses, ParanOid able to keep it alive. He's also now moving in with some Roaches. And once those Roaches start coming through, that's when we see a more defensive and passive play coming out from JJakji, or at least we should. Instead, he runs straight past all of those Roaches, takes a good chunk of damage. Unfortunately, one of those Hellions goes down, another gets desperately low on health, only 2 HP remaining. So hopefully we're going to see JJakji move these back and repair them up with his SCVs. Always a good little move to make there. Meanwhile, JJakji, 1-1 upgrades coming down. ParanOid, though, he's taking his fourth. He's double expanding, and this is a great play to make. If I take a quick peek, he has seen that the third base was in construction for JJakji. So he knows JJakji's third was ahead of his own third. And regardless, you want to be a base up on a Terran player as a Zerg, so taking this fourth is exactly the right decision to be making. My concern though is JJakji has got a sizable number of units hitting the field. He's going to be moving out. This isn't supported though by medevacs. Limited healing capability there. Stim is done, so the stims, if this push moves out now before the first two medevacs, does have to be careful. But seeing how many Roaches are down, I would suspect JJakji is going to stay back and be more cautious. It's what we're seeing at the moment anyway. And the reason being, he's got these Marauders out, the Marines out, which will be defensively very strong, but if he tries to be aggressive with them, that's when suddenly those stims and lack of medevacs is going to start hurting. Medevac production should get started up fairly soon though. The first two probably going to pop into production any minute. Just a little bit low on minerals, JJakji. But ParanOid up in supply for the time being due to just the way Zerg plays. Usually you'd expect to see a supply advantage for ParanOid in this situation. But he's also getting down the 1-1 upgrades. A long way behind that of JJakji's 1-1. While not too much of a problem at the moment, when this Spy is done and Mutalisk starts coming out, that's when the infantry upgrades become huge, specifically for the Marines. Their DPS up against those Mutalisks skyrockets as their attack upgrades basically start coming through. Up against the infantry, obviously getting the 1-1 upgrades will help in the trades, just a little bit more damage, take a little less until it's leveled out. But for the moment, we just see ParanOid going fairly steady. He's got his road speed upgrade coming through, but JJakji is going on the offensive. Bear in mind those two medevacs are now there, so he has the option of some healing. Moving forward though, is he going to be able to do much? ParanOid is morphing in 4 Balings, they're nearly done. If they can detonate, it would be great, but the Roaches for the moment pushing JJakji back, but JJakji taking some good trades. His stutter step micro really getting demonstrated here as he kites away from the army, preventing a concave from being achieved. Trying to snipe off any Balings that get close. It's great control from the mYi player. ParanOid forced to retreat, but JJakji still with so much on the ground with that upgrade advantage, which is just now leveling out. Unfortunately, the third base of ParanOid is taking so much damage. Full-on aggression now coming through from JJakji. His infantry is very low on health. The Spore Pool is taking out the medevacs, but it's all looking good. A lot of damage done. 10 workers killed, but JJakji lost the majority of his army. So, with that push now down, we're going to get some drops. And the reason drops are achievable is because no Mutalisks were seen. Yes, there's some spores, but with a good little medevac boost, JJakji shouldn't have too much to worry about. Unfortunately, it does take a lot of damage initially from the Spore Crawler before he realised that it was there. Maybe not expecting this 4th base quite so soon, but with the high ground damage getting done, the Overlord in a good position in order to grant high ground vision there to the static defense, prevent anything getting sniped off. But there's just so few units here at the moment for ParanOid. He's investing his gas into Mutalisks, but he's only got 4 down, 3 more on their way. But that's not terrifying. Once that number starts increasing, gets into the double digits, that's when JJakji needs to start being a little careful with when he goes for drops and where. Madals shut down drop play very effectively, because while medevacs can boost away and they have a higher move speed while boosting, it doesn't last forever, thank goodness. But that just means that ParanOid can get a little bit more comfortable expanding around. JJakji though, getting down Drilling Claws, gonna aid his Widowmine burrow time, means that he can just get them into position faster and in action faster, hopefully putting the game picked off. mYi's carapace is on its way for ParanOid, and I'm glad to see that, because until you get that, Overseer is just so sluggish, especially compared to Madals, and that makes you run the risk of moving into Widowmine position. Great play though by ParanOid, looking to go and pick off some reinforcements and deal some counter damage. 1, 2 bunkers are up at the moment, but this is a lot of speed links. Counter damage though also being done by JJakji. He's looking to take out that 4th base. A good chunk of ParanOid's army is on the offensive rather than defending, but with Banelings rolling forward, JJakji has to be so careful. He's moving a single medevac up in towards the main, knowing he's got a foothold at this 4th, or what was the 4th base of ParanOid. This is where most of the attention of the Zerg is currently sitting. And if JJakji can sneak in and snipe off that Spire, god that was a tongue twister, then actually that's where things can be good. But with quick reactions, ParanOid getting back to pick it up, takes out the medevac and the drop, and takes very little losses. So, JJakji in a relatively stable spot. He's slightly up in supplies. Army supply very far ahead, 32 already up. He's also sitting quite pretty with upgrades. He's got his 3-3 on the way and is still 40-ish seconds up on his 2-2 upgrades. ParanOid though, realizing this push is coming, starts morphing into more Banelings, comes for the flank from the top of the screen. Madals making their way through, but some big Widowmine hits decimate much of the Zerg army. Banelings finally finishing morphing, but JJakji has such great focus fire and splitting capabilities that he deals with those effortlessly, and therefore the GG is called. And JJakji will take game number 1.